the news tonight, 13 more test positive, with 12 in new Navy cluster. $170 million loan guarantee for FDB. And arrests for breach of self-isolation orders.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nunn.
Bulawinaka, Fiji. Another day of double-digit COVID-19 cases from the latest round of testing. For details, we join Koroi Tandulala.
Edwin, we've recorded 13 new COVID-19 infections and all are close contacts of previously announced cases. 12 of the new cases are Fiji Navy staff who are primary contacts of the Navy officer that was announced yesterday. An investigation is ongoing as there's been no link established yet with other clusters. The Fiji Navy is also conducting its own investigation into how these 12 officers came into contact with the Tadirua case. Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary Dr. James Fong yesterday announced that the Tadirua man or the Navy officer presented with COVID-19 symptoms to the Nuffield Health Centre in Tamavua. And the 13th case is another member of the Kinoya household, announced last night, bringing the total number of cases from this particular household to 11. And as it stands, there are currently 121 active cases in isolation. Edwin, some good news is that it's been 14 days since a case was reported from the Western Division, and Lautoka Hospital has completed 21 days of sequestration. It's also been the same number of days that Lautoka or a case was reported from within Lautoka Hospital, and with 4 rounds of testing completed for patients and staff within. And from tomorrow, the patients who were sequestered within Lautoka Hospital will be able to be discharged and staff will also be able to return home. And the Lautoka Hospital is likely to return to full operation from next Tuesday. Edwin.
Minaka Koroi. Parliament has today approved a $170 million loan guarantee for the Fiji Development Bank with a 0.75% fee on the cumulative utilized guarantee credit. This follows a lengthy debate in Parliament where the Minister for Economy highlighted the purpose of the guarantee is how it will assist the country. Koroi Tandulala again.
The government guarantee will provide a lifeline for many businesses and other sectors battling the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic.
I think some of the members of the opposition have said, and others from our side have said also, that gives FDB the capacity to go out and raise funds in the market and to also lend. And we do agree. We need to spur on investment. We need to spur on consumption. We need to ensure that the small businesses actually stay alive.
Because FDB is a Fijian institution and has survived all these years as a true patriot, I, along with the members of the side of the House, will support this motion before the House.
The Minister for Economy says the fund will also enable continued facilitation and implementation of government policies by lending to the essential sectors.
Particularly resource-based sectors including agriculture, mining and quarrying, manufacturing, transport, communications and storage, small and micro enterprises, which will assist Fijians to earn a decent livelihood. And of course, that is a challenge in respect of what's happening given COVID-19.
The guarantee also ensures that FDB lends to resource-based sectors such as agriculture and assist Fijians in the informal and formal sectors. Koroi Tandulala, FBC News.
People found breaching isolation protocols have been arrested by police. One case was recorded in Nokonoko village in Rakiraki, where the individual disobeyed instructions not to leave their home. Acting Commissioner of Police Rusiate Tundravu says this serves as a reminder that all those found to have breached the isolation protocol during lockdown will be dealt with accordingly. A 36-year-old man was arrested after he crossed the Dokanavatu containment area and entered Nasereilangi village in Ra. In the west, 4 people were arrested for crossing the Naria containment area into Rakiraki town. 32 people were arrested over the last 24 hours for breaching COVID-19 restrictions, including curfew orders. 6 cases concerning alcohol consumption were recorded at Nawakaevo in Nandi in the Eastern Division. 5 arrests included 4 men in their 20s found intoxicated in Vanuandina village in Tailevu. 12 people were arrested in the Southern Division. There's been a significant amount of help from all government and ordinary Fijians as vaccination drives continue. Head of Fiji's Vaccine Task Force, Dr. Rachel Davey, says in light of restrictions, the Ministry of Health is ensuring that they get as many people as possible vaccinated. Lina Rees reports.
The vaccination teams continue to roll out the first and second dose of the vaccine in parts of the Central and Western Division.
Just coming forth and helping us, and especially with crowd control, that's been really helpful. It's really nice to see people do the necessary do's, like getting their masks, and where they have hand sanitizers that bring them along, or wash their hands on site or whatsoever.
Dr. Devi says this time around, vaccination teams have been very cautious because of the containment areas and the increase in the number of COVID-19 cases.
We're progressing as we speak. So the ultimate aim for us is we make sure that any vaccine drive is going to be a COVID-safe space as well.
Many Fijians who turned up to receive the vaccination are hoping this will help get things back to normal soon.
We also hope this will allow for us to go back to work and in time send children back to school.
I'm grateful to health teams for coming to our communities to allow us to get the vaccine.
The head of Fiji's Vaccine Task Force says this week's vaccination drive is a build-up to a whole nation rollout of the COVID-19 AstraZeneca vaccine. Lina Rees, FBC News.
The government has spent $300 million directly on COVID-19 related matters. Minister for Economy Aya Syed Kayum says $160 million has been paid out in 2 phases of unemployment benefits. Syed Kayum says $100 million was provided for the health and medical services, including the Fiji Police Force, the RFMF and others in the front line. He adds $30 million has been provided in concessional loans for micro, small and medium enterprises and $10 million paid through the M-Pesa grant.
Number of household assisted, 37,206 in Nandi Lotoka area. Suva Nosuri Levy, 81,430. Total funds disbursed in a matter of 3 or 4 days was $10.6 million.
And Felipe Naikaso joins us live now. Felipe, what do businesses in the West expect in the coming days?
Business operators from Lotoka are hoping that the containment zones of Nandi and the Sugar City are opened soon. They say that if these containment zones are opened soon, it will allow a lot of economic activities, especially here for the Western Division. And if government also allows other non-essential businesses to operate within these containment zones of Nandi, Lotoka by North the Western Division, this will also ensure that a number of jobs are created in the coming days.
Vinaka Felipe. Information technology retailer Bondwell was told to close its outlet at the FNPF Plaza in Suva after it was seen receiving customers this morning. Police officers were sent to the store to inform management that they must close immediately. FBC News was at the plaza and observed customers lining up outside. They were also seen entering and purchasing items. The Ministry of Commerce says Bondwell was not allowed to open for retail sales to the public, as the company has only been given permission to support essential services on a call basis. When they were contacted by FBC News, Bondwell General Manager Jitesh Kumar told us that there was some confusion since they had sought approval from the Ministry of Commerce and Trade.
Our businesses has put out signages on social media, plus at the stores, that we will not allow anyone to come in for browsing that they used to do.
Up ahead, shoppers complain of price hikes and more Good Samaritans step up. Welcome back. Residents living in non-containment areas claim that shop owners are taking advantage of the current situation. Tavua apparently is one area experiencing increases in prices of basic necessities. Christiana Uluwai reports.
For Unai Simbakewa, she says that they are now spending an average of $4 more on items and groceries.
We have noticed price increase on a lot of items here in Tavua. Some shops are selling 4.5 kg gas cylinders at $14 to $15 recently. Before we just bought them for $11 to $12.
Consumer Council of Fiji has also noted significant complaints of exploitative pricing practices by certain essential businesses.
Certain supermarkets, pharmacies, small dairy shops in the outskirts and canteens have high prices of essential food items. And what we have also seen is that there is disappearance of specials and discounts.
The Fijian Competition and Consumer Commission CEO Joel Abraham has warned traders on many occasions that businesses who hike prices during these trying times will face legal action. Christiana Uluai, FBC News.
Around 100 food packs were handed to disadvantaged families in Navua affected by COVID-19. Recipients included widows, people with special needs, and those who lost their source of income as a result of the pandemic. Kritika Kumar reports.
Charitable organization Worthy Works Fiji has been raising funds to help the needy in Navua since the first wave of COVID-19 last year.
What we thought of actually to get together with our group and distribute the rations that we can bring smiles to the poor communities of Navua.
Member Shelvin Narayan says they distributed essential food items to several locations where people have no means of providing for their families.
And the amount of blessings that they were giving to us throughout this 2 weeks course, it's really undescribable in words because they were so thankful.
Recipient Lalita Wati says she is grateful for the assistance as her daughter, who was the only breadwinner, is no longer employed. Because of the containment areas, my daughter is now unemployed. She was a resort worker, however now she stays at home. Worthy Works plans to assist more people, having already distributed food in Viwawa, Nasasa, Ravondrau, Vuninokonoko, Rewanga, Ngaloa and Wainandoi. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
The Australian government has provided $31 million worth of personal protective equipment to Fiji. High Commissioner to Fiji, John Feeks, says this is part of the Australian bilateral support in response to COVID-19. He says the aid also covers lab equipment and testing machines.
We've provided $104 million. That consists of budget support directly to the government, COVID support as well, PPE gear, lab technicians, lab equipment.
To other news briefly, a temple in Dahlia, Navua, which was built 5 decades ago, has been razed to the ground. Many residents say they had a lot of attachment to this place of worship, which burnt down last night. Resident Bimal Chaudhry says the fire at the Ram Rasayan Ramayan Mandli temple started at around 7 p.m. It's believed the fire started from a diya. However, this is yet to be confirmed as the National Fire Authority investigation is still underway.
A lot of us, the generations that were there before us, they have attained their spiritual knowledge from this temple. It was a center of our religious and cultural activity for a long time.
Agriculture export has gone up in the past 6 years, but this can be affected if inorganic fertilizers are stopped without proper substitutes. Minister for Agriculture, Dr. Mahendra Reddy, says inorganic fertilizers not only affect the environment, but also the preservation of our flora and fauna. Jeshulal reports the Agriculture Ministry is working to bring in organic fertilizers.
The minister says they're developing organic fertilizers which will soon be given out to farmers.
Both the ministries are working together to see how we can reduce the utilization of inorganic fertilizer and substitute it with organic fertilizer without compromising on our quest to increase agricultural output.
This year, with the current situation we've got, we've decided to actually complement that effort, upscale that effort, and actually go to each of these households, giving them the seed packets so they can utilize the free time that they've currently got.
Dr. Reddy adds the import bill of fertilizer stands at around $20 million annually, which is quite high.
Abruptly stopping or cutting down an importation of inorganic fertilizer is not the way to go. Mr. Speaker said, we also want to cash into the small but significant and growing organic market, not only in overseas, but also in Fiji too.
The minister also revealed plans to certify some islands as organic islands, to which its agricultural products will be known as organic produce and will be sold in the local and international market at competitive prices. Jeshulal, FBC News.
Leading business, the current COVID-19 situation has left many businesses financially fragile. For the small town of Lambasa, businesses are struggling to stay afloat. Eleanor Torangaivu has more.
The coronavirus pandemic has caused massive disruption among small businesses in Lambasa just several weeks after its onset.
The business that we've been running here in Lambasa, this year is really bad.
It's worse than last year. And our business community, they are struggling at the moment.
Many small businesses do not have enough cash on hand to survive for the next few months.
Business is very low. We can't afford to pay the rent. Our daily sales may be $150 per day only. Our rent is too high.
The COVID-19 safety protocols has forced a lot of people to stay home, and many are opting to buy food directly from farmers rather than coming into town.
They'll try and open the businesses, and they will not reduce their staffs and the hours at present.
For clothing retailers, business has gone from bad to worse.
Very hard time. It's the business going down day by day.
The Lambasa Chamber of Commerce fears there might be closures and job losses should the situation continue.
If this thing will continue maybe another week or so, definitely they have to do that, otherwise they will not survive.
Already around 20 businesses have been closed and almost 100 individuals without work after they were deemed high risk by the Ministry of Health. Eleanor Torangaivu, FBC News.
Here are the local exchange rates as set early this morning. The Fiji dollar showed no movements against the US greenback and the Japanese yen. It lost ground against the Chinese yuan, the New Zealand dollar and the euro. It gained against one of our major trading partners, the Aussie dollar, as well as the PNG kina. Prices were rising on the commodities market. Crude oil rose to over $66 a barrel. Gold rose to $1,903 per ounce. And silver was up at $28.17 per ounce. And we now join Sunifa from HFC Bank to give us the latest figures from the money market.
Good evening. The New Zealand dollar rose 0.5% after the central bank left its accommodative monetary policy settings in place today, as expected. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand said it will maintain stimulus until it is confident that inflation and employment targets are achieved. Meanwhile, the US dollar stumbled near its weakest since early January against major peers, while Treasury yields eased amid Federal Reserve insistence that stimulus will continue despite current inflationary pressures. That's all for now from HFC Bank, Vinaka.
The Fiji National University says it's transitioned smoothly into online learning, teaching and assessment so that students can continue with studies with minimal disruption. Vice-Chancellor Professor Toby Wilkinson says building on the experience gained in 2020, all departments are ensuring that students remain the primary focus and are supported during these unprecedented times. FNU has negotiated with Vodafone and Digicel for zero data access for students using the university's online resources. For students with connectivity challenges, online attendance is not compulsory as they can access recorded sessions. Students can also pause their studies until face-to-face classes can resume without penalty. And that is the latest from my end. But coming up after the break, Nandranga community rallies against COVID-19. Stay with us.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Agriculture is establishing a chain of nurseries to support the mangrove restoration project. This is part of the ministry's mangrove advancement program to help restore traditional fishing grounds. Minister Dr. Mahendra Reddy says Navuniivi village in Rakiraki is facing coastal erosion due to the impacts of climate change. Dr. Reddy adds the mangroves will establish new fishing grounds for the villagers while helping stop the erosion of the coastal areas.
A total of 600 mangrove seedlings were planted to help restore traditional fishing ground. The coastal erosion causes the village to venture out into deeper waters to catch fish.
The headman of Narata village in Nanwanga is pleased with the show of Fijian spirit and unity among villagers in these trying times. Turangani Koro Autuiko Kuruduva says they've imposed a total lockdown in the community and they will not receive any visitors until further notice. Josiah Nanunga has more.
With lockdown in place for Narata village, a COVID-19 community response team was established to monitor movement among villagers. Kuriduba says the support shown by these villagers towards this measure deserves commendation.
I would say this pandemic has strengthened our community spirit and the bond we share. Now with our response team manning checkpoints, we see villagers visiting them with a hot cuppa, meals and other essentials. I've told the villagers to avoid unnecessary movement and remain within the village boundaries.
From Narata to Nawamangi village, both neighboring villages have imposed stringent lockdown measures despite being in a non-containment zone.
Village elders have agreed to restrict unnecessary movement in the village. Children under the age of 18 must remain indoors at all times. We will continue to show our support in our quest to contain the spread of COVID-19.
Meanwhile, one of the 5 Nawamangi villages have completed her self-isolation period. These are villagers who had traveled from Lautoka and the Suva containment areas during the 2-day travel window earlier. Josiah Nanunga, FBC News.
Sales at the Lautoka market continue to plummet, with vendors saying that many Fijians don't have money to spend. It's been difficult for many vendors in the past few weeks, with some even having to throw away produce because it had started to rot. Felipe Naikaso has more.
Week in, week out, the Lautoka market is full of produce, but people aren't buying like they used to.
I started selling this vegan from Monday, but now it's Wednesday. The vegan still lying there on top of my store.
Some vendors can't even afford to bring their produce to sell as the crisis continues to take its toll. Some say they're lucky to even make $30 in a week.
Now you can see around here is all some tables around here is empty. All the market vendors they've been went home.
With vendors here at the Lautoka market already struggling with their sales, they're also hoping that the stall fees are waived for now. This is because a permanent vendor pays around $30 for their table in a week.
Yes, it's a lot. We have to struggle. When we have been selling now, sometimes we just earn $5.
The other issue is having to fork out extra to buy produce directly from the suppliers at the borders.
People knock off from 4. The time when they come to the market, our market is closed at 4 sharp. So that is something that we're facing right now, the changes in time that we are closing.
They're not making money in nowadays. Before they were making money, but nowadays it's not that good.
Despite the hardships, these vendors remain hopeful that things will get better soon. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
And now to Jamie with all the latest in sports.
Thank you and good evening in sports. Two All Blacks greats are concerned whether the Flying Fijians are going to be competitive against the 3-time world champions next month. On the Sky Sports The Breakdown show last night, Sir John Kirwan and Mills Muliaina both expressed a lot of doubt at Fiji's chances of giving the All Blacks a decent run. Meanwhile, Fiji Rugby Union Chief Executive John O'Connor has chosen not to comment on the matter. One of the players being eyed to feature for the Flying Fijians against the All Blacks is former Fiji Under-20 captain Temo Mayanabonua. The 24-year-old who joined French club Lyon for 6 months as a medical joker last year will now extend his stay with the side for another 2 years. The Kaiviti Silktails have a tough task ahead preparing for this weekend's game against third-placed Wentworthville Magpies in the Ron Massey Cup. Pio Sethi will again lead the pack as Penyoni Tangitui Moore continues his journey with the North Sydney Bears in the New South Wales Cup.
So there's plenty of competition for positions, and the boys know that. Regardless of the win, they've got to keep they've got to keep training well and playing well to keep their spots in the team, because I know there's 2 or 3 other boys that want to play in their positions as well.
Team Fiji remains focused on its journey to the Tokyo Olympic Games in July. Despite the rising cases of COVID-19 in Japan, FASANOC stands in support with the International Olympic Committee in staging the July Games. Tale Matarekula reports.
Nothing has changed for Team Fiji despite what is transpiring in Japan.
We are guided by the directives of the International Olympic Committee and our own standard operating procedures, which actually follows the playbook.
Meanwhile, plans are in the pipeline for Team Fiji to get some game time in Australia before the Games.
The Australian government is assisting in seeing swimming and athletics and our rugby team, sevens teams, men and women, go to Australia for competition and training.
2 swimmers have been chosen for the Tokyo Olympics quota spot. This has been confirmed by Fiji Swimming President Ben Roba, who wished not to reveal the names of the swimmers yet. This as they await confirmation from FASANOC and FINA if the athletes fit their selection criteria. He says FINA will analyze their personal best times as well as the number of competitions they've competed in recently to determine if the 2 can compete in the selected events. Their names will be released once confirmation comes through. That's it from Sports Tonight. Coming up in Weird and Wonderful, a pet that cooks. Find out more after the break. Cloudy conditions with showers were experienced over Vanua Levu, Taveuni, the eastern and interior parts of Viti Levu, Lau and Lomai Viti group. Elsewhere, cloudy with isolated brief showers. In the west, it was partly cloudy today. Expect cool temperatures tonight. Eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, cloudy periods with brief showers. In the north, occasional showers, heavy at times with isolated thunderstorms, showers gradually easing later tonight. At sea, southerly winds 10 to 15 knots, gusting to 20 knots. Moderate to rough seas, heavy to damaging southerly swells with heights of up to 4 meters. Poor visibility in areas of heavy showers and thunderstorms. The next high tide is at 6:40 a.m. tomorrow with low tide at 12:49 p.m. Sunrise will be at 6:32. The outlook for tomorrow, occasional showers, heavy at times with isolated thunderstorms over Vanua Levu, Taveuni, Lau and Lomai Viti group. Showers gradually easing later tonight. Cloudy periods with brief showers over the southern parts and interior of Viti Levu. For Friday, mainly fine conditions with cool nights. And recapping our main stories, 13 more tests positive with 12 in new Navy cluster, $170 million loan guarantee for FDB and arrests for breach of self-isolation orders. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. To our poll question, this week we are asking, do you think Fijians are abiding by restrictions to curb the spread of COVID-19? Visit our FBC News website to answer. You can also send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts. You can also download our FBC app to keep updated with the very latest news and sports and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news this evening. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Modemanta.